Hello and welcome to this short video about putting in controllers according to the blend shapes that you've made to try and make things a little more centered. So as a simulation, I've set up 3 different variants of a head. This is the original mesh. I'm going to select all the variants first, and then the last thing I'm going to do is shift select the head to make sure that everything works. And then I'm going to go into animation, deform, and blend shape, and quickly just give this a range of expressions by creating an expression group. And then you can bring up the blend shape editor one of 2 ways. You can go to the animation editor here and then go to shape editor, but also you can use the sort of older version of Maya's blend shape, which has been since deprecated, but I've actually made it into its own little button here. And all you do in this case is type in the word blend shape editor. Blend shape editor. And that should work for you. You can also make it a nice button if you'd like. So this is currently, as you can see, reacting to all the blend shapes, which is fine. As I use these sliders, these go as well. But it's a little bit decentralized for the animator to have a bunch of blend shapes. So in case you have an existing controller, such as a NURBS circle, and this is actually controlling the sphere, for instance, if you were to have this parent constrained to it, such as, I'll quickly just set this up. If you had something that allowed this to move around, for instance, if I have like a real simple parent constraint, it allows me to grab the controller and move it up and down, rotate it a bit. Then this could also be used if you were to truncate things you don't need off of it, such as if you were to sort of prune off the things you don't need under the channel control. For instance, I'm never going to be using scale, and I'm also never going to be using visibility, so I can just get rid of those. At the same time, I can also come up here and add an attribute. And I can add attributes according to any of these existing blend shapes. So let's try that. Go into your existing controller. You can then modify. You can add an attribute. In this case, I would type in happy head. And the reason I'm using head is because what if there were other controllers on here for eyelids and noses? Depends on how much you want to centralize them. I'm going to give it a good range from 0 to 10 and add that. It's going to pop here at the bottom. And what I can do is just kind of once again take a look at the different blend shapes that I have. And this is also why I like to use the old blend shape editor. I can just select that and it comes up all the different influences. And each of these I can then select per blend shape and then go over to animation editor's expression editor. And really what I can do is grab the different heads. As I select them, you can see the way Maya describes them. So if I were to grab angry head, I'll say that the value of this should be equal to this controller here. So really what I should do is grab the controller, NURBS circle, and then go down to the value, happy head. It's a little trick I like to use since these things can get kind of out of control quickly as far as naming conventions. First of all, just take a minute to name things to make it a little easier on yourself. Now that it's sphere controller, I can come down to happy head and grab this value and just put it in my clipboard. Then I can come back here and select the different blend shape values, and I can use the expression editor as I did a minute ago using the drop down menus, or I can use a little trick, which is to hold down the control key, then right click, and the second thing down in this drop down menu should be the expression editor. So I'm going to connect something to happy head, So I want to select that. And the first thing I want to do is sort of purge my clipboard. Remember, I've got this value here. And now I can put something else in the clipboard and basically say that value, that blend shape, needs to be controlled exactly by this value here on the happy sphere controller happy head. But remember, the value for a blend shape is 0 to 1, and the value I gave for the added attribute was 1 through 10. So in this case I want to put a qualifier which is divided by 10. Now if you make your value of your added attribute 0 to 1, then you've got a 1-to-1 track and you don't need to put in this little division sign. But I wanted the animator to at least have a little more room to choose how much they wanted to go between 0 and 10 and 0 and 1. It's a little more wiggle room for the animator. So now I can grab happy head and hold it down, and you can see that it's actually using that value, and I can continually add ones here for angry head and curious head. So you can have a range of expressions right there on the controller. You could have a separate controller that just has a list of all the expressions in case you don't want to do all in one, of something that controls this and also controls the rotation and also controls the blend shapes. But it does centralize the area that gets animation without sending the animator to go scrambling to animate things in one panel, come back and animate things in another panel. It also centralizes the information in case I save a keyframe here. I can export the whole of this information out in one .anm file. And so again, you've got kind of a centralized setup to allow more of an ease of animation. All right, well, I hope this helps, and happy rigging.